Ricky, how does it feel to describe yourself as a nostalgia act?
I don't mind one bit. I don't consider that a derogatory remark. Uh, Most of the friends in the business that are in the same, I would same category, I guess you might say, as I'd rather say nostalgia act than oldies act, but
We're all oldies acts, though, aren't we?
yeah, everybody's older, and those of us that can still manage to keep up and still perform, I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've been doing it an awful long time, haven't you? Tell us how it all started for you.
Oh my goodness, I was at an early age, early teens, playing locally with some friends that it was a neighborhood thing, and that developed into playing during the week in bars while I was in high school here, which would have been before I could legally drive a car. So that would make me around 14, 15 years old. We were playing in bars. There was a time when
oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry.
That's quite all right. Teenagers could go to bars back then because they would get a stamp on their hand that would only allow them to drink certain alcohol content of beer.
Right.
So there would, all through high school, all through my 15, 16 years, I was playing several nights a week and earning some money. Anyway, I got the call from another local band that got truly lucky recording an original song. That song was "Time Won't Let Me," of course, and it was like Cinderella. It was played over the phone, over the telephone handset to a executive at Capitol Records, and he was one of those guys that found talent. He loved the song immediately. One thing led to another, and the group was signed to Capitol Records. And right at the very same time, their drummer was drafted into the military, and we were acquaintances. And he recommended me to replace him because the record was starting to catch on, and the group was scheduled to go out on the road to promote it. So I got the call with only 3 days' notice. I left school to go on the road with the, you're familiar with Dick Clark American Bandstand?
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Dick Clark American Bandstand used to put together package tours. This particular package tour was a bus tour, United States bus tour. And on it, it was called the Gene Pitney All-Star Tour. So it was Gene Pitney, Bobby Goldsboro, Chad and Jeremy, B.J. Thomas, Len Berry, the McCoys, ourselves, and another young lady. Her name was Norma Tanega. But anyway, there was almost 30 of us that did a 6-week bus tour.
Wow.
And that's how it started. And
wow.
From that point,
you weren't called the Outsiders then, were you?
Yes. The name changed from the Starfires to the Outsiders when the record was released, because Capitol Records determined that the Starfires was a little dated, 1950s sounding. So I don't know the exact sequence of things, but somebody came up with the name of the Outsiders.
And why the Outsiders? And why the Outsiders?
Because I think it was a family thing. One of the leader of the band, Tom King, had a falling out with some of his family members, and they said, "You're not including the family in something or other. You're just an outsider." So it was like one thing led to another there, but it was I wasn't there for that part of
Right,
it.
right. So Time Won't Let Me rose to the top of the charts, didn't it? I mean, that must have been incredibly unexpected.
It was incredibly unexpected. It made it to number 5 nationally out of a national top 100. And anything, and of course, it received a lot of radio play back when they had AM radio stations here in the US. And the subsequent recordings also did well. The second release was a ballad called Girl in Love, which was not our choice for a second release, but Capitol Records thought it was timely to release a complete 180-degree opposite song of Time Won't Let Me. That one made it to number 21 nationally. The third release was a remake of an Isley Brothers song.
Just before we go there, because I just need to ask you this in before we head to the Isley Brothers one. Apart from taking you around the country on this tour, how did it change your life? How did success alter the way you lived?
Well, I was 17 years old and 18 years old when the Outsiders were at their most popular. So like any other teenager, I guess, I had money where a lot of my friends were working in gasoline stations or supermarkets. And so it was sort of a big thing to me to be able to afford. I bought a brand new car in 1967 for cash money. And of course, my friends were all excited to know me and to hang out. And when we would come off the road, I would go back to my old places where I used to hang out with my friends and do what I used to do as if nothing had changed for me. But it did change quite a bit. I was able to help my mother with her living expenses, I would say. Not a lot, but I did what I could. And again, when I would come back into town, I would stay at home with my mother. I was still a teenager, and it felt good to be helpful. It was quite a change.
I can imagine it would have been. So you had those two big hits, and then from the second album, Outsiders 2, tell me a little bit about the Isley Brothers number, Respectable, that you did.
That was a song that we played, again, in the bars locally. There was dancing about that time would include the twist, teen dances. That particular song, Isley Brothers I hold them in high regard for influencing as far as their music goes. A lot of the dancing music in the local scene here in Ohio was rhythm and blues music, and we put our own little twist on the song called Respectable. And it was determined again by Capitol Records that it would be a good, high energy third record to release.
So it was a bit of a crossover hit, wasn't it? Because it was R&B essentially, but released as a pop tune and climbed the pop charts.
That's right. It made it to number 15, actually. So not quite as big as Time Won't Let Me, a little bit bigger than the ballad, which was Girl in Love. And we were all kind of proud of that we had some success over the first 2.5 years touring and hearing ourselves on the radio.
What did the Isley Brothers think of your cover version?
Never met them. We met so many artists, but we did not meet them. And funny thing is, they're from Ohio as well.
Ah, is that still on your bucket list?
You know, I'm sorry to say most of them are gone. The original Isley Brothers, the three of them, I believe, have passed away. I'm sure there are relatives, and I'm sure that the relatives themselves probably still perform. I never got to meet the Isley Brothers. We met so many people, but they were not anyone that we crossed paths. We met Ike and Tina. We met the Supremes in the strangest places. Sometimes at the airport, sometimes at a hotel. But yep, we didn't get a chance to perform with all these acts, but we did cross paths.
Oh, well, that's interesting. And did the group all think of? Did you all think of each other as hot shots at the time?
No, some more than others, but I'll speak for myself, and I'll say no. There's a certain amount of humility that goes along with this, and I had a lot of, how can I put it? I had a lot of confidence and high regard in our combined musical ability as performers, but I really did try not to display an attitude that would be uncomplimentary.
Oh, you're a nice man, aren't you? So humble. It's lovely, Ricky Baker. You didn't let success go to your head, and you were certainly having plenty of it way back then. After Respectable, I believe the single Help Me Girl came out, and Eric Burdon and the Animals covered that one.
Well, and that was purely a coincidence. We were told that the song was actually submitted by an outside songwriter. And back then, songwriters would mail cassette tapes of their original songs to every record label in the country that would accept it. Well, it turns out that this particular song was deemed worthy by our management, and unbeknownst to us, we recorded it as our single, and it was arranged and produced by Chuck Mangione, the trumpet player that had a hit about 10 years later with his instrumental "Feel So Good," I believe it was called. So now we were unaware of the fact that it was also recorded and released by Eric Burdon and the Animals on the West Coast. And of course, we were recording in Ohio. So there was no communication there, if there was supposed to be, but both recordings, oddly enough, were released simultaneously. Both recordings did relatively well. If it had been one group or the other, it probably would have done very well.
Yeah.
But airplay was split pretty much. Western United States liked Eric Burdon's version, and our version, Midwest and the eastern side of the United States, was a little more favorable to us. So okay. It was just one of those things. In fact, we were driving in our tour bus somewhere, and we heard "Help Me Girl" come on the radio, and we said, "Oh boy, listen, here's our song." And then we looked at each other and said, "Wait a minute, that's not me singing, that's not me playing, what is this?" And it turns out that's how we found out that it was released at the same time.
How did you feel about that?
Actually, we had teenage anger.
White line fever.
Yeah, we were angry about it, and that was just one of those things. I guess it couldn't be avoided.
Yeah. And what happened with the song "Bend Me, Shape Me"?
Again, that was a song submitted by an outside songwriter. It was recorded as an album track. Back when we made LPs, albums, they had 11 or 12 songs on them. And beyond the hit song that may have been on that recording, they were album cuts. I wouldn't call them filler songs, but they were songs to fill out a 12-song LP. This was one of them, and was actually sung by the bass player at the time. And it's a sort of a dark version, but it was real close to the submitted original cassette tape that was sent to us. And again, our management team and Capitol Records felt that the song on its own didn't have the strength to become an actual AM radio single release. So it was designated to album cut status. Well, less than a year later, that very same song was taken by the American Breed, who tweaked it, I guess you might say. They added horns and they added that drum beat in the beginning. Very, very cleverly, very cleverly done, professionally done. And they had a huge hit with Bend Me, Shape Me. So all we can say is we had it out the year before, but they had the monster hit with it.
So you'd actually recorded it. I thought you'd turned it down.
We recorded it. It's on album number 3 called The Outsiders In.
So you think you obviously missed a golden opportunity?
We have to trust the management and the record label. The song on its own, our version of it, probably wasn't hit material. It was really, really well done by whoever decided to do it in the style of the American Breed. I have to give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, huge song, great song. Ricky, the band started to fall apart not too long after that. What went wrong?
We had a falling out with our management, like so many others at the time. We felt like we were being cheated, taken advantage of. More so with Tom King, the leader of the band. He was the one that was pretty much dealing with the business part of it. We had 2 managers that at the outset, for the first 2 years or so, did a great job for us. And of course, they were taking 25% of our gross. Excuse me. William Morris Agency, our booking agency out of New York, took another 15% of our gross. So right off the bat, any money we made, 40% of it came off the top.
Yeah.
The rest of it was divided up by the band. Again, there was a falling out. There was an argument. There were lawsuits involved about, again, I'm a little vague. I was 18 years old and I wasn't really sure.
Yeah, you weren't party to all the business stuff, of course not.
Really, but our managers had a lot of influence, being that they were Capitol Records connected.
Yeah.
They had a lot of influence with program managers at the radio stations, and they very easily could have tarnished our reputation by saying we were less than desirable or ungrateful musicians that tried to turn around and stab them in the back after they took us off the street corner and made us a success. So that whole go around was the beginning of the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, just being a band member, I think that the leader of the band tried to book the band himself, which was, again, probably a mistake. They decided that they wanted to move to California. The whole band decided they wanted to move to California, which was I absolutely did not want to do that. My mother was here in Ohio. I went for a while. I went for a few months. I hated it. I didn't like California. I didn't like the scene. After that was the end for me. After about 3 months of going to the Capitol Records executive offices tower in Los Angeles, meeting this person, trying to be kind, trying to schmooze them, whatever it took. We didn't have any good news on the horizon. So I decided for myself that it was time to come back home. So I gave Tom the news, and he was fine with it. And I came back home, and that was the end of my 3 years with the Outsiders.
Wow. And after you left, Tom quit the group. Sonny was left to keep the band alive, and together with Walter Nims, they tried to record, but they went on to form a new group called Climax. And yes, the first song that they did, called Precious and Few, actually went to #1 nationally.
It was a great song. Walter Nims wrote that song. Actually, it wasn't their first recording. Believe it or not, Sonny and Walt and Sonny's band Climax was a song was submitted to them that Sonny recorded with Climax that never really caught on. That song was Rock and Roll Heaven. About a year later, it was taken by the Righteous Brothers and made a huge hit. But Sonny recorded that song first. Rock and Roll Heaven. I can't remember what record label it was on. It was a smaller label in
It doesn't
California.
matter. Yeah. Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
the same with Precious and Few. Walter Nims toured with us when I was in the band for a while. He wasn't a big fan of being on the road, and he preferred to stay in and compose, I guess you would call it. And yeah, Precious and Few was a great, after 3 years after The Outsiders, it was a great revival for Sonny.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't. I was just telling somebody this morning that those memories for me are actually still very vivid. I remember the people. So many of them are no longer with us. I remember the friends we made in the different places where we performed. There was always a local band that usually would open up for us. And when we were in town for more than a day, we would be invited places. We'd played sports together, or we'd visit, or they'd take us to their ranch and we would shoot guns or all kinds of things. Yeah, it's very, very, very memorable to me. Regrets? No, I can't say that I have.
That's awesome. Would you describe those days as the best years of your life?
Among the best, not the best. I've been married 41 years yesterday.
Congratulations.
My lovely wife. We have 3 children. They're all, of course, grown up adult children, and we have 4 grandchildren. And things are calm, things are peaceful, comfortable, and I can still play a little bit. Of course, I notice at my age, the phrase would be, I've lost a couple of steps, but I can still play and I still enjoy it. And I have friends in the band with me currently that enjoy the 60s music, and their wives are great. All 4 of the wives get along. All 4 of us get along. We're all here within an hour of each other in Ohio, and we get to socialize and perform. So
life is good.
Things are okay.
Gorgeous. That's so nice to hear. Ricky Baker, lovely catching up with you. Thanks for filling us in on those days and taking us down that trip down memory lane. I always like reminiscing, and I think what it does is turn each one of us back into being a teenager, and they were pretty special days, weren't they?
It certainly is. I can't thank you enough for contacting.
That's my pleasure. And I love the kangaroo on your beret.
I have several.
You wore that one just specially for me, did you?
I certainly did.
Ricky, thanks a million for your chat today. Really good talking.
Thank you, Sandy.
All the very best to you. What did you do all those years in between? Did you go and get a real job?
I had to for a time, yes, but I never stopped playing locally.
Yeah.
It was not enough of a living.
Yeah, of course.
Just playing music locally. But I kept involved. So for these last 50 years or so, yeah, we've been playing locally, and I had met so many friends here in town, and over the years found out that some of them were actually thrilled to be a part of trying to reproduce the original Outsiders music, and so thrilled that in 2020 we released a new single by the current lineup of the Outsiders, and 2021 a second new single, and they're both on YouTube if anybody cares to listen.
We'll have a look. What's the latest one called?
The latest one is called I've Got a Heart Too. It's on the website. Actually, it's www.outsiders, The Outsiders USA Live.com.
Cool.
And that is our promotional stuff, our promotional video. The latest single is on there, some photos and all that good stuff. So
we'll head for it. I'll tell my audience where they can find you. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. Terrific. You're still doing it.
We're due for another one actually this year. It's 2022, time for a new single.
Cool. Maybe we talk again. I'll let you go now. Thanks a million and happy anniversary again.
Oh, thank you, Sandy.
All the best, Vicky. Nice to meet you. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.